إنشاء المركز فرصة لبناء جسر لشبكة مراكز الثورة الصناعية الرابعة العالمية. رؤيتنا في المركز أن نسفر تقنيات الثورة الصناعية الرابعة بحيث أن احنا نقدر نسرع تحقيق نمو اقتصادي مستدام. المركز يحفز تبني مسؤول حق التقنيات بحيث نزيد من فائدتها ونخفف من المخاطر اللي لها علاقة فيها التقنيات.
سيساهم مركز الثورة الصناعية الرابعة بشكل كبير في دعم الاقتصاد الوطني وتطوير السياسات المالية، مما يتيح توفير خدمات ذكية في قطاعات مختلفة في الدولة مثل الخدمات اللوجستية والخدمات المالية والصناعة.
التعاون مع مركز الثورة الصناعية الرابعة وأيضا وزارة المالية حجر أساس لرحلة التحول الرقمي للصناعات في دولة قطر، وهذا التعاون سينعكس بشكل إيجابي على الاقتصاد من خلال تعزيز القدرات وجلب الأيدي الماهرة.
من المتوقع أن يكون لمركز الثورة الصناعية الرابعة تأثير كبير على النظام التكنولوجي المحلي من خلال تعزيز الابتكار وأيضا تعزيز التعاون لتطوير مشاريع تقنية تخدم المصالح الوطنية والتنمية المستدامة.
The launch of the Doha Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. May I now invite to the stage the Minister of Finance of the State of Qatar, His Excellency Ali Ahmed Al-Kuwari. And may I also invite Børge Brende, the President of the World Economic Forum.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished pride and excitement that we gather here today to inaugurate Qatar Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution. This landmark initiative is a testament to Qatar's unwavering commitment to harnessing the transformative power of technology and innovation to shape prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable future. The fourth industrial revolution is reshaping the way we live, work, and interact. Technologies such as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and advanced robotics are not just disruptive industries, but are redefining possibilities. In line with Qatar National Vision 2030, this center will serve as a catalyst and achieving our nation's strategic priorities. As a proud member of the World Economic Forum's global C4IR network, this center connects us to a dynamic ecosystem of expertise, collaboration, and innovation across 18 countries in 5 continents. This partnership will allow us to draw on a global best practices while tailoring solutions to the unique opportunities in Qatar. And this is from manufacturing and logistics to education and financial services. The center will drive digital transformation across key sectors. At the core of C4IR, Qatar lays a mission to create and support an environment where bold ideas and groundbreaking technologies can flourish. We aim to generate actionable knowledge to help businesses use fourth industrial revolution technology, as well as providing advice to develop agile policies and piloting impactful projects. We expect these developments to benefit from all segments of society while safeguarding ethical integrity and sustainable standards. Today's inauguration marks the beginning of a journey that's as ambitious as it is necessary. Through this center, Qatar is not only embracing the future, but leading it by leveraging our position as a global hub for innovations to foster solutions that transcend borders and resonate the global priorities. I extend my my deep gratitude to the World Economic Forum, to our partners in other centers, and everyone involved here in Qatar, whose vision and dedication have made this day possible. Let us seize this moment to chart a course toward a future where technology is a force for good, a future that's intelligent, inclusive, and inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Your Excellency, Finance Minister Kuwari, and also to His Excellency Minister of ICT and all other friends here in Qatar. For us, it's a great moment for the World Economic Forum that we are able to formally launch our Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution here in Doha. It has been discussions going on for a while, but now it is really happening. And it is our 21st Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution that we are inaugurating today. And also, as the Minister was saying, the intelligent age is here. And the new technologies will play, and already is playing, such an incredibly important part of our life. But I think the reality is that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. We do expect that by 2030, that the intelligent economy will make up for 16 trillion to 30 trillion of the global GDP. That's a lot. It is really having huge impact also on productivity. By 2030, we believe that 40% of all jobs in the world will be either affected or being part of this economy. That means that there is a need for a lot of reskilling and upskilling. We think that these new technologies will change our lives, but hopefully to something better. There are opportunities, but there are also challenges. And when it comes to Gen AI, our centers are also working on establishing traffic rules, because we do need traffic rules. I think still it's a good idea that humans are on top of the algorithms and not the algorithms on top of humans. So these are all the things that the centers are dealing with, and the fact that we have 21 centers now all over the world also sends a strong message that even in a polarized, fragmented world, we need to work together. We need to work together on having some basic traffic rules also on how we can make the technologies work for humankind. So it's a great opportunity for us to have this cooperation with Qatar. Doha is a hub already for knowledge and development, and this will just underpin the role of Qatar in this respect. And then we are now moving from this into a great panel that will discuss the new technologies, the intelligent economy. So again, big congratulations, and I'll then sit down on the chair and welcome the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed to Børge Brende, President of the World Economic Forum, and Qatar's Minister of Finance, His Excellency Ahmed Al-Kuwari, for being here today at the launch of this important collaborative effort and for spearheading these efforts that go right into the heart of innovation and technology and tap into the massive potential of this and future generations. May I invite you both for a group photo on stage to commemorate this important milestone. a new joint initiative, a collaborative effort, a team effort. The Qatar Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, launched here today on day one of the 22nd edition of the Doha Forum. Congratulations. Now, of course, no conversation about innovation and technology can begin without talking about new frontier technologies, particularly artificial intelligence. Not only is AI helping guide us and navigate us through this new era of intelligence, but it also brings with it huge economic potential. In fact, it promises to unlock almost $20 trillion in economic value by 2030 by boosting productivity and innovation. Now, our next session is entitled, if I can find the title, it is entitled Competitiveness in the Era of Intelligent Economies. It's my pleasure to welcome to the stage, to join Mr. Brende and Qatar's Finance Minister, Her Excellency Paula Ingabire, who's Minister of Information, Communication, Technology and Innovation for the Republic of Rwanda. My pleasure to also invite His Excellency Mehmet Şimşek, Minister of Treasury and Finance of the Republic of Turkey. His Excellency Achim Steiner, the Administrator of UNDP. Welcome to you all, and I leave this panel in the good hands of Børge Brende.
Thank you very much, and again, big congratulations to Minister Kuwari and Qatar for the center in Doha. As already mentioned, we are embarking on a new paradigm. A paradigm where the new technologies that we are all now familiar with will have huge impact on our lives and the future. We will, by 2030, probably see that this intelligent economy is 20 billion. That is a major part of the global GDP. And we also will need to use and put to work these new technologies for, as I already mentioned, for humankind. And we will here also discuss how we can avoid that the winner takes it all in this context. Because we know from the platform economy that the winner took it all. How can we make sure that these new technologies also can work towards fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals? The overarching goal there is to eradicate all extreme poverty by 2030. And unfortunately, if we now look at the SDGs, we are around 20% of them are on track, and the rest is not on track. And we are in 2024 and almost embarking on 2025. And can these technologies play a constructive role, or will they just underpin the inequalities that are already existing? For example, we know that many developing countries, a lot of people are not even connected. So we'll come back to these questions, but let me first start with you, Minister Kuwari. In your third national development strategy, you underline also very much the importance of innovation and diversification. So how will these new technologies play a role in the new phase that Qatar is also going into, where you see more and more diversification? And we know that human capital, building out infrastructure is very important for your overall strategy for competitiveness.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you personally, Børge, and the WIF, for, giving us the opportunity to participate in the Fourth Industrial Revolutionary Centers and embarking in Qatar Center, which is I think, very critical stage in Qatar's, journey toward our Vision 2030. I think you mentioned. I will start first of all. We are talking now about the era of intelligent economy, and we have seen technology role has changed over time from improving efficiency, productivity, for processes and government processes and even the way we do business, to now becoming an important tool for economic growth. So now in reality, if we see most of the economic growth around us and in many countries, without naming them individually, I think the key growth is coming from the technology and AI and innovations, patent rights. So we see this, it's no longer it's as a necessity only to improve process, but now it's a necessity to achieve growth and achieve economic growth. So definitely the role of technology is changing. And it's basically who has it today, they have the achievements, they have the growth, they have, the attention, and who doesn't have it, I think they lost it. And it's very important, and I think speaking about the quality and how we see the world moving, I think it's very important that we narrow the gaps, of course, to improve the quality of life in one side, but also, to achieve, growth through the globes. So this is definitely is an important. The second thing I would like to really praise and the initiative coming from the WEF on the Fourth Industrial Revolution 4.0. I think this is something not long ago Professor Schwab announced it in the WEF, and that's really happening, and we're part of that journey and that story and launching the center today. In terms of Qatar and what we are doing in terms of how we can leverage technologies as part of our national development strategy, the third national development strategy toward Qatar Vision 2030. We have, technology sits at the heart of our industry, and this is one of the key sectors we're going to be using basically to achieve the diversification of the economy and the movement from hydrocarbon-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. So definitely this is the anchor in our, sitting at the heart of our industry. And we are doing so much in that area. For example, we are pledging $2.5 billion of incentives, basically to encourage innovations, digitizations, and AI. So this is something already have been allocated in terms of an investment. His Excellency the PM, also in the last, Web Summit, which is Qatar is so pleased to host for the next 5 years, is also we have announced, $1 billion to establish fund of funds, here Qatar, basically to attract funds from the region or internationally to establish the business here in Doha. Also, we have the Startup Qatar program, which is, with the intention, to have 0.1% of their GDP by 2030, on startups, and technology is going to be a big part of this. We already have seen so many initiatives, in terms of Ooredoo, who are sitting here also in the audience, they announced $1 billion investment in data centers along with NVIDIA. With Google, Cloud Center of Excellence, they already established in the free zones, with joining the Microsoft Azure, cloud. So we see Qatar already taking the position, but the opportunities are tremendous, and we are in a good position to leverage on that. Qatar has one of the fastest in the world in terms of internet speed, whether it's a mobile or fixed lines. So this is really give us, a good opportunity there. Qatar is ranked in the IMF 23 out of 134 countries in talents, and that means we are able to attract talents as well as to build the human capital through our sophisticated education system, here sitting in Qatar. So we are in a good position to really leverage and achieve these goals. Of course, the journey is long. Again, data centers, for example, if I can stop at the data centers, it's a great opportunity for us. Qatar has the energy, has the LNG, and this is, data centers is an energy consuming business. So we have the opportunities, but not necessarily only the data centers, but I think what we are more concerned about to build an ecosystem around these data centers. We are not just becoming an energy provider or computational power provider, but to take Qatar has an excellent sectors, doing very well in terms of like having the data, having, the business, aviation, energy, financial systems, and I think we can take advantage of this, especially when it comes to the AI, business going forward.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Let's give Minister an applause, and thank you for your leadership. Paula Ingabire, Minister of ICT and Innovation, Rwanda. You have been leading in this field for many years. We also do have a Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in Kigali, and we were there when we also had the inauguration of the center. We see the importance of the digital economy, and there are also indications that the digital economy can become a $1 trillion economy in Africa by 2050. But at the same time, we do know that only 20% of the African people are connected to the internet sufficiently in affordable and predictable way. How do you see that this divide can be closed? How can we build bridges here? And how is the strategy in Rwanda? Because I think you come a long way on this. So how can we learn also from the Rwandan example?
Thank you very much, Børge, and I'll also start by congratulating the State of Qatar for launching the center. I think with His Excellency the Minister, Mohammed, we've been talking about many areas of collaboration between Rwanda and Qatar, and I think this becomes another additional area where the two centers can work very closely together for both knowledge and skills and technology transfer to happen. But straight to your question, indeed, when you look at the potential of the digital economy and the fact that the divide is still very wide, particularly in Africa, it begs the question, what are some of the things that we can do differently to ensure that we can close the gap sooner? And Minister, you just talked about artificial intelligence, and in reality, if you don't have some of this basic connectivity, basic infrastructure, digital infrastructure in place, then it becomes difficult to really also make sure that we are harnessing the potential of AI, and that's also helping to solve for everyday societal problems that the African continent is facing. Today, what we see is that close to 40% of the African population is connected. There's so many efforts that are going on in making sure that we are closing the digital divide. And on one hand, how do we ensure broadband connectivity for all is happening? A country like Rwanda, we already have about 97% population coverage. Our ambition is to move that number towards geographic coverage because there's a lot of mobility happening across the country. But I think coverage in itself alone is not enough. What we see that is alarming, and this is not only particular to Africa or even Rwanda, is the usage gap. You have so many people that live in areas that are very well connected, but they still are not benefiting in a meaningful way when it comes to the infrastructure that they have access to. And so two of the key drivers of this divide when it comes to the usage gap is digital literacy and the cost of services plus the cost of devices. And so how Rwanda is tackling it, and we're seeing this as a model that can happen, that can be scaled up to different countries, is we've deployed the Digital Ambassadors Program that is designed to train citizens across the population. We're also looking to figure out how we can create device financing models that make it very affordable for citizens to really connect to the digital economy. What we did last year was a partnership with one of the operators where for just $16, a citizen is able to get a smartphone, and it's a bundled service. So you have you have unlimited calls and SMS, but at the same time you have 1 GB of data per day, and you're only paying $1 a month. And so that is the kind of disruptive partnerships and ideas that we want to see happening across the board, so that we can see more and more people that are benefiting from this. The last thing that I would come to, Børge, in terms of what needs to happen is partnerships are very essential. When you look at the cost of connecting the people that remain unconnected today, the cost is quite high. And so being able to figure out blended financing models, bringing together different financing partners to see how we can lower the cost of connecting the unconnected will make it possible to ensure that this digital divide is narrowing as much as possible. But you can't have infrastructure without training people, without also making sure that most of the services and applications are going digital, because that is what creates the value proposition of why one must be connected.
Just a short follow-up question and a short answer. Some people claim that AI will increase the challenges when it comes to inclusion and widening gap between countries. Do you think it's going to widen gaps, AI, or is it an opportunity for the developing world?
I would say yes and no. One, if not designed carefully, AI as a technology can widen the divide that we already see. But on the flip side, what we also see is that AI has the potential of being an equalizer. And so the question becomes how are governments, how are corporates, how are institutions working to ensure that you leverage AI as a technology or other emerging technologies in a way that is benefiting for society. In reality, when you look at what it takes for a country to be able to leverage AI, the biggest gap, again, we're talking about gaps, the biggest gap is always compute capacity, which many countries don't have access to. So how do we democratize access to compute capacity so that nations and MSMEs and individuals can be able to leverage the power of AI? So again, to your question very briefly, Børge, it's possible that it will widen the digital divide if we're not being intentional on how we ensure that democratizing access to infrastructure and skills and applications is done in a deliberate manner.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Paula. We'll come back to that. I guess Akim Steiner will also touch on this topic. His Excellency Mehmet Şimşek, Minister of Finance of Turkey, a G20 country that is also known for its manufacturing, very competitive manufacturing. And we know that the future of manufacturing is also changing very fast because of the new technologies, being Gen AI, but also data. And we know that if you look at global trade, the trade in goods has peaked, but what is really growing is trade in services and digital trade. It's now 20% of the global trade and growing 3 times faster than the traditional goods. So how are these new technologies and the intelligent economy shaping your way of thinking in Turkey and also your industry policy in a world where industry policies are becoming more and more on the agenda in a combination with tariffs? So it would be good to hear how you are maneuvering.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Qatar for launching the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution. Congratulations, and I'm delighted to be back in Doha. Yes, Turkey is a major manufacturing base globally, and we are investing significantly in AI preparedness. That's really key in terms of human capital, but also in terms of digital infrastructure. When it comes to basic metrics such as, fiber optics length, in terms of 600,000 kilometers or whatever, internet penetration, broadband, subscriptions, and all this kind of stuff, we're actually in good shape. IMF does this AI preparedness index, and we are ahead of emerging market average. But clearly, more investment is needed, in particular in hyperscaler data centers. This is one area where it's missing link. So this is really key. UN also does an index on readiness in frontier technologies. And again, relative to our per capita GDP, which is high middle income status, we are ahead of our peers. But again, we certainly cannot be complacent. When it comes to manufacturing, I think the challenge for us is to enhance complexity, economic complexity, meaning moving up the value chain. That's why, if you look at the last decade or so, we have almost doubled R&D spending as a percent of GDP. It's still low relative to advanced economies. It's just over 1.4%. We are, over 50% of R&D spending is done by private sector, but government does provide huge incentives. We've got over 1,300 R&D centers, over 300 design centers, and also over 100 technoparks. So these are some of the engines of this ecosystem that will help us move up the value chain and stay competitive. For us, really, the key issue is SMEs, digitalization of SMEs, because that's where really the productivity gaps comes in. Relatively large companies or medium-sized companies, they're capable and they're fairly competitive. But smaller companies, this is really where digital skills are going to be very important. So we are trying to design programs to help smaller companies to boost productivity through digitalization. And that's really the key challenge going forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Achim Steiner, Administrator of UNDP, and also a follower very closely of the impact of the new technologies. I know you have spent a lot of time on this, Achim, and as I also said at the outset, AI could unlock close to 20 trillion globally by 2030. This is a real game changer, and if we are seeing 10% increase in productivity in the decade to come, this is really a question of prosperity. But where will this prosperity go? Will it trickle down? Will it penetrate also to the emerging economies and developing economies? So my question is, based on also what Paula and Ingabire said, how can we make sure, or will AI be an equalizer? Does it look like becoming an equalizer? Or will the winner take it all, and the largest economy in the world will then even take a bigger piece of the pie?
Yes, thank you, Børge, and again I join the others also in congratulating Minister Qatar, but also you, Børge, on this Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In fact, we have, as UNDP and the WEF, also worked in a number of countries together as you have established these centers, and I think they're always a very welcome point of focus also around where we need to think about the future. And I think we all know today, even though we don't know exactly how, that AI will change every aspect of development, whether it is in education, whether it is in healthcare, whether it is in amplifying economic capacity. And I think therefore for us as a development program in the United Nations, the starting point is very much where Paula and Ingabire described is, if you take a by default approach, I think we are absolutely convinced that this will be the great unequalizer in the history of development. If you take a deliberate and intentional, a by design approach, there are enormous opportunities for countries that traditionally are not the starting point of technology revolutions. And I think this is critical because we've spoken a number of times today about the 10, 20, 30 trillion dollar economy. By some estimates, the global south at the moment, put China out of that equation, would not get then more than 10% of that. That is not only a major problem, it becomes actually a lock-in. And this is what has worried us for quite a number of years. We have, in UNDP, given a lot of thought to how we can help governments quickly appreciate what it is that they need to do today in order to be able to be an agile, dynamic, participating economy 5, 10 years down the line. We've already learned a lot through the digital revolution, but I think AI is something that really does go beyond any scale or pace that we have ever seen in terms of the impact that a technology and a capacity to process data will have on the world at large. Add to that quantum computing, which is just around the corner, and you can see that probably for most of us in this room here, we cannot quite imagine yet what this will look like. So our approach is very much rooted in the idea that being a poor economy or not a major economy with technology hubs does not imply that you cannot be a major player in this field, but you do need to invest. We had just heard Minister of Finance from Turkey talking about the digital infrastructure. UNDP does a lot of work with countries to help them assess their digital readiness, their digital public infrastructure strategy, because it is critical to be investing today. We have also begun to work with ITU and UNESCO very much on helping countries in looking at the AI assessment in order to be able to determine where is it that you could just now begin to already draw on both lessons learned but also on investments that can be made. We have begun to create centers such as the G7 Center for AI and Sustainable Development in Rome. We are in discussions with colleagues in China and other parts of the world in order to quickly equip ourselves, but also by virtue of what UNDP ultimately does, which is to connect countries' frontier policy making, investment strategies in order to quickly focus on what our role really is, which is the core of your question. How do we make sure that this frontier of possibility, the amplifying of human capacity on a scale unknown perhaps in history, does actually become a development driver rather than simply the controlling of data capacity and ultimately therefore of a technology. And I think here, if I may end just by echoing, I think we are focusing on 4 areas. Data, Paula, you already mentioned it. Generative AI, many of the large language models, they will all draw on data. The harsh truth is that data is largely concentrated in very singular locations around the world. We have to quickly change that, otherwise it will be a distortion of reality. Secondly, we need computing capacity, and that has not only to do with the digital public infrastructure, but also with the investments that are needed. We need talent. We need to invest right now already in that talent. And fourth, we have to shape that kind of ecosystem that I think, Minister, you spoke to at the beginning, because it is in the context of an ecosystem that a technology either becomes a driver for development or the exclusive privilege of the few winners. If I may end by just saying, Børge, it is, in my perception today, not a coincidence that the 3 fellow panelists that are sitting here are all in their own way part of what has enabled UNDP to be an asset to countries. With Qatar, we began a few years ago to support over 100 countries with their accelerator labs. Interesting enough, over 40% of those accelerator labs at Qatar and Germany, in a sense, co-sponsored. AI is now one of the principal areas in which we are discovering innovations within the country, because individuals are struggling, but they're also succeeding in this innovation world, but they need that ecosystem. So the accelerator labs have been a tremendous boost to our ability to understand that. With Paula and President Kagame in Rwanda, we are establishing perhaps the most ambitious undertaking ever, the Timbuktu program, creating capacity across the African continent for startup capacity, but also technology investment capacity. And in Istanbul, we have a private sector center that is at the center of UNDP's work of how to connect the private sector enabling strategies. So development in our time will indeed be very much driven by technology, but I think the art of the possible is to make sure that technology serves a development pathway and perhaps not the other way around. Thank you.
Running out of time, I think this conversation could have gone on for another half an hour because, as Akim also said, the new technologies are changing every aspect of our lives. And will these new technologies then be able to support us on mitigating CO2 emissions, deal with health challenges, make access let me, at the end, since we only have 2 minutes and 36 seconds left, I can see up there, go back to you, Minister Kuwari, and I would like to ask you the question, how do we bridge these new technologies between the global south and the global north? Because the reality is that you need trillions of US dollars investing in those new big language models and AI. And where will that capital come from? And are we now in like hardware phase where those investments needs to be done, and then later on there will be more of a software phase where you can put applications on, and there is also more opportunities for everyone. So listening to this discussion, are you concerned that we're moving into a more a world with bigger inequalities, or can we bridge this in Qatar's leadership in this? Because you are a bridge between the global north and the global south.
Thank you, Børge. I mean, yes, I've been listening to my colleagues here, and it's very important because of this, to bridge down the inequality here, you know. I think what's very important, you know, especially, you know, for, I mean, speaking about the global north and global south, is really human capital. And I think if we can focus on the human capital, education, you know, offering, you know, equal opportunities, should be the start, in my opinion. This is where we can start, and then everything comes from there. Qatar is already doing a lot in this area, you know, I mean, especially with Qatar Foundation initiatives, education above all, educate a child, and many other initiatives. So education to me is the number one to reach the equality, you know, situation, you know, and bridging the gap. So the investment should start in education. You know, I think having educated people can, you know, overcome any difficulties there. You know, the other thing, you know, is really, I mean, in the utilization. I mean, when you talk about especially AI, there is the building of the AI. The building of the AI, I think, is very competitive. It's very difficult to, and it's already, you know, I mean, started. It's very difficult to change it. But I think in the actual implementation of AI, this is an opportunity where we can bridge, you know, the gap between the global north and the global south. And if we can focus on the implementation and investing on the implementation side, this is where we can really close much of the gap.
Thank you very much. No, it's 1 second left of our session. So we just, as a Swiss organization, ended on time. I'm just would underline that we were sticking to the time allocated to us, 30 minutes. If we're running late, don't blame us, but we have been on time, and I think also on message. I think it was great panel, and you know, very few panels necessarily ends when you want them to continue. But this panel, I think, would have benefited from 10 more minutes, but we are sticking to our time. Great thanks to the panel, and especially to Minister Kuwari for his leadership, and also for Qatar for opening the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. So big applause to a great panel.